Good afternoon, Algebra students. I hope that everybody is doing well. We are continuing in Chapter 5, and now we are completely focusing on the slope formula. Yesterday, we talked about rate of change and slope in general, and now we're going to talk about calculating this. What I'd like for you to be able to do by the end of this lesson is to find slope given 2 points of horizontal and vertical lines and state if a graph has a positive or negative slope. Okay, so what can we do to calculate slope? First of all, you can use any 2 points on a line in order to find slope. In this diagram, x sub 1 and y sub 1 is point A. That's how we have it labeled. And x sub 2 and y sub 2 is point B. So here's what we have going on. We have 2 points on a line. So point A and point B. Now we cannot call point A. We can't say, oh, that's X and that's Y, and this is X and that's Y for point B as well. So we have sub 1 or sub 2 to let us know specifically which point we're talking about at whatever point in time. So here we have our formula, slope, or M, it's the same thing, is equal to rise over run, or y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So we're calculating the change in the y's and the change in the x's. Let's see that put into practice. So here we have example 3, and it says, what is the slope of the line through -1, 0 and 3, -2? Okay, so all we're trying to do is find the slope. We don't need to worry about the equation of the line or anything else that we could figure out using this. We just want slope. So the formula for slope, I'll write it right here, M is equal to y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Well, how do you know which one is which? It does not matter which one you choose. I typically just go left to right, so I'm going to say x1, y1, x2, y2. This is my x coordinate, this is my y coordinate, and it's from my first point, so that's why I have a 1 down here. This is my x, and this is my y, but it's my second point, so that's why I have a sub 2 down here. Now I'm going to substitute these values into my equation. So I have y sub 2 minus y sub 1. Well, y sub 2 is -2 minus y sub 1 is 0. So I'm going to say minus 0 over, okay, then it's x sub 2 minus x sub 1. X sub 2 is 3 minus x sub 1, which is -1. So it's minus -1, like that. Now we're going to start simplifying. Well, -2 minus 0 is just -2. That stays the same. And here I have 2 negatives right beside each other. So I'm going to turn that into plus a positive. So 3 plus 1 gets me 4. -2 over 4 is able to be reduced. So I am going to reduce this to -1/2. And that is my answer. Let's do it again. So I want to find the slope of the line through the point 1, 3, and 4, -1. Okay, my formula for slope, which is represented with an M, is y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Let's label my coordinates. I have x sub 1 and y sub 1. Then I have x sub 2 and y sub 2. Okay. The top of my equation is y sub 2 minus y sub 1. So I'm going to replace y sub 2 with my value of -1 right here, minus y sub 1, which is 3, over, and then the denominator of my formula says x sub 2 minus x sub 1. X sub 2 is labeled right here, and I have it as 4. So I'm going to say 4 minus x sub 1, which is 1. Now I'm going to reduce. Negative 1 minus 3 is negative 4 over 4 minus 1, or positive 3. Do not turn this into a mixed number. Leave it the way it is, so I'm going to keep it as negative 4 over 3. Let's do one more just to make sure that you have it. It says, what is the slope of the line through 1, 2, and 2, 4? Here's my formula. Then I want to label my coordinates accordingly. So this guy's going to be x1, y1. This guy is x2, y2. Now I want to substitute in my values in the appropriate spots. So y2 minus y1 is going to be 4 minus 2 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1, or 2 minus 1. Reduce that more. 4 minus 2 is 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. So that reduces down to just a regular 2. Now, if you left it as 2 over 1, I would be fine with that as well. But since it's a whole number, I reduced it to 2. Okay, so this is how we would calculate slope if we're given 2 coordinates and we need to find the value of the slope. We can also determine the value of slope based off of the direction of the line that it is. So I have the axes highlighted, but not the actual individual line. So here I have a horizontal line, and here I have a vertical line. Now, yesterday we had a kind of slope summary at the very end of the notes, and it talked about what the slope of 2 lines would be according to what direction they are going. Right off the bat, you should be able to know, hey, a horizontal line has a slope of 0. But let's calculate it real fast just so we can see it. We have y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Y sub 2 is 2. Y sub 1 is 2. So this is going to be 2 minus 2 over 2 minus negative 3, which is going to equal 0 over 5. 0 divided by anything is 0. So as we can see, even when we calculate the slope, it still gets us a slope of 0. Now, if you know that a line is horizontal, I'm not expecting you to calculate it. You can just say, oh yeah, that's a slope of 0. Okay, now let's look at this one. This one is a vertical line. We should know right off the bat, hey, a vertical line is undefined. But once again, let's calculate it just so you can see it. So I have y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. And let's start plugging stuff in. So I have negative 2 minus 1 over negative 2 minus negative 2. This turns into plus a positive. So now I have negative 3 over 0. Now notice that the 0 is in the denominator. I'm not allowed to divide by 0, so this is going to be undefined all the same. So if you forget that up and down is undefined and left and right is 0, then you can absolutely revert back to the slope formula and be able to calculate if it's defined or 0. But if you're able to remember, then that's fine as well. Flipping our paper over, we just have one final example, and it says draw your own examples of each of the following. So we have a positive slope, a negative slope, undefined slope, and 0 slope. So we'll just start at the beginning, and here we're trying to draw a positive slope. So what direction does a positive slope go in? It goes uphill from left to right. So I'm just going to pick a random spot right here, and I'm going to pick a random slope of 4/3. So I'm going to go up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, over 3, 1, 2, Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just so I can get a decent line. Okay. I just came up with a random slope to have. Just as long as it's going uphill, then your answer will be correct. So there is my first example of a positive slope. Let's make up our own example for a negative slope. A negative slope is going to go downhill from left to right. So I'm going to do, I don't know, a slope of 5, just because. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to go down 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, over 1. Over 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1. Okay, so now it's steep, but it is still going downhill. And I'm going to connect those dots as best as I can. If I don't bump my equipment that I have. And there we have it. So that is a slope that is going downhill. Yours could have looked like this or like that. As long as it's going downhill, then it counts. So you don't have to have the same exact answer as me. Next, we have undefined slope. An undefined slope is going to be a vertical line. So it can be anywhere on the graph. It really doesn't matter. But let's just put one right here. And there is our undefined slope. And then for a slope of 0, that is going to be the horizontal line. If it's hard for you to remember which one, you can think horizon and horizontal. If you look out at the horizon like the sunset, and that is from left to right. So that's a way to remember horizontal if you sometimes mix those words up. So it doesn't matter where this line is either on the graph, just as long as it's going flat from left to right. I'm going to put it down here just because that's what I feel like. So there you have it. Let me highlight these just so you can see them a little easier. All right. And we are done with this page of notes. We'll be practicing with the slope formula a lot tomorrow, so bring me questions if you are confused on anything, and please have a good night.